All right, we're here with part 2 of our E-flite A320 custom airliner video series. And today I'm going to talk about two subjects. One is decals and the other is paint. So if you remember from the first video, I said I had a scheme picked out and I had it in mind, but I was just kind of waiting on the decals to get here and everything before unveiling them. And well, they're here, and that's a great opportunity to talk about the decal package. But before that, I'm going to touch off on a subject which is doing your research. So I have a couple pictures here I just printed off on my printer here. As you can see, I have selected a Delta scheme. The Delta scheme was picked for a number of reasons. One, it is, well, it's relatively simple. The fuselage is mostly white with the blue on the bottom, the blue engine nacelles, blue up on the winglets here, and the blue tail. So it's a relatively simple paint scheme. It was well referenced, easy to find. Plus, this is an actual A320 that is in service. This scheme is in service today. I have flown on Delta A320s, and I fly Delta quite often for work. So a lot of good reasons why I decided to pick this, and so I picked a number of images of different airliners. Some of them may or may not actually all be A320s, but at least it gives me an idea of kind of the layout of the graphics package. I even have some showing the kind of the weathering underneath the undercarriage here, some of the streaking of oil and exhaust from the APU, some model airplanes that have been picked as well. Nice picture underneath, another picture of an A320. So another number of aircraft that I use just as reference, right? You want to get as many reference pictures as you can. I only have a few of them here. There's a lot more of them that I have ready to go. And I will use those to place the decals, get the right positioning for everything, get the weathering and everything right. You think of airliners as being very clean, but in reality, if you were to get some close-up pictures or look at them in service, they're not nearly as clean on the exterior as you would think. So, going to be paying close attention to the how the aircraft wears and gets dirty, and how the airplane looks after it's been in service. Obviously, when it's initially done, it's going to look like it's fresh off the factory floor. But I do want to weather it just a little bit, and pictures are your best way to make sure that it is very accurate. So let's go into the decals here. Callie sends quite a few that come in the decal package here. We have everything from nomenclature decals here to an entire package of these are all kind of stapled together. I will pull them apart later. But you have the Delta that goes underneath the fuselage here. Here's the gigantic tail decals right here. So these are already made up so that you don't have to do any additional work to paint the tail if you don't want to. However, I will be doing so because there is the perimeter that I want to make sure is painted the proper blue and red. And then, of course, I'll add that silver strip of Behr aluminum on there as well. But the cutouts are already here for the rudder, so you don't have to worry about that. And then next we have, I can get it separated here, we have another round of Delta stickers here with the N number. And then, of course, more nomenclature, decals, vents, landing lights, all sorts of stuff. There are a lot of decals that come in this package, and I haven't even shown you all of them yet. So I'm just going to put these behind me here so they stay safe. The hard part is going to be actually finding out where all these decals go. You don't really think about all the little decals that are on a civilian aircraft. You think of more of along the lines of a military aircraft, but aviation is fantastic with visual identification. Things are visually identified to make it easier and almost foolproof. For ground crew, the flight crew, maintenance crews, anybody to be able to operate, service, and identify areas of the aircraft that they need to be paying attention to. So there are a lot of placards that are going to be going around. And then we have all of our window decals here. We have our emergency exit decals, the emergency exit doors, all of our windows, including the windscreen, little Delta logos, the American flags, and then, of course, the door decals as well. So quite a few decals to put on this, even though, like I said, it's a relatively simple scheme, right? I mean, you know, just take a look. It's like, wow, there's really not much to the Delta scheme, but when you get into it, you actually find out there's quite a bit that goes on with the A320 to make sure that you get it to look as accurate as possible. Now, we're going to talk paint. That's the second subject. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about on the paint isn't just related to the Delta project, just like those graphics from Callie, why they are the Delta ones. That's how your decals will come in. So if you're doing Spirit, United, American, Vintage Northwest, TWA, you name it, whatever you pick, that's how the decal package will come from her. So we're going to talk about paint next. So one of the things I did right off the bat was I noticed that the fuselage is a matte white. I consider it more of a primer. Yeah, you could use it as your top coat, but it is a very flat white. It really is best to think of it as a primer and not as your top coat. And because of that, we have a great opportunity to adhere fresh paint to a really nicely primed surface. In fact, this is one of the best things about it because the primer that they use, or really the base white that they use, adheres to the foam remarkably well, which means you now have a surface that's bonded well to the foam, and now you can bond other paints to that. One of the things that I find the most difficult is painting on bare foam. There's materials and stuff inside the foam that allow it to be released from the mold, that help it in manufacturing. And because of that, paint sometimes doesn't like to stick. So now we have a good surface that is primed and ready to go. And I like to use the Rustoleum 2X sprays where possible. I think that these paints really do an amazing job. They stick well, they're very durable. So I used the white gloss. I painted the entire fuselage. When I did that, I want to make sure, of course, that I didn't paint over all the lights. It has the rotating beacons, it's got the anti-collision lights on the back. So I use this Tamiya paint tape right here. It's 6 millimeters, and then I use blue painter's tape to go over the servos and the wing opening where all the plugs go in for the control surfaces and for the motors, because you want to make sure that none of those surfaces get painted. So these tapes work remarkably well for painting. If you're going to apply any of these tapes directly to the foam finish, I recommend this little trick here. So take a piece of tape and just stick it on your sleeve a few times, and what that does is it will pull lint and things off, and it will reduce the tack of this paint or of this tape, and that will make it so that it doesn't peel the substrate off when you peel off that tape. So just a little trick there to help you out. The other thing I like to do is I like to get basically this is touch-up paint, but I'll be using this in a number of areas as well. This is just simply Behr semi-gloss paint samples. I just simply go down to my local hardware store. You can get it from Home Depot, Lowe's, anywhere that does paint matching. And I like to have this stuff on hand. So this is going to be my Delta blue here. It is just listed as dark blue. I have all the codes on here for the Delta scheme. And what I did is I found a piece of material that had the Delta blue on it, and I simply had them match it. I also found that navy blue gloss from Rustoleum is also remarkably close. So if I have some larger areas, such as the perimeter of the vertical stab, I'm going to go ahead and use this on that, and then I'll maybe using this on the engine nacelles as well, or I'll be using this as a brush on, and then I'll put a gloss coat over it. But I got two options here depending on which way I want to go. I have some flexibility, and this stuff works great for chips too. So as the airplane wears, as you do get some chips in the paint, I'll go ahead and just put a little paintbrush and touch those up. White's obviously really easy to touch up. I don't need any color match for that. So now that I have everything, I got my paints, I got my base white on. The next step for me is going to be to actually go ahead, paint the nacelles and paint the tail, and then I'll start the detailing process. So there's a lot of areas that are not painted on these aircraft. They're left either Behr aluminum or some sort of a Behr material, and so I'll be going through and checking those. I think around the exhaust it's going to be some stainless steel, and some of that will have a kind of a burnt look to it as well. So I'll be doing some research on that and start that painting process. Once that is done, then I'll begin the decaling, which will most likely be the most labor intensive. So expect a little bit of a delay in videos as I try to pinpoint where all of these decals go, and then also try to put together a plan on how best to make sure I get those window decals nice and straight. It'd be a shame to have them kind of taper down and go off on an angle. So I got to make sure I get those very straight. So that's it for the second video of this series. If you guys get any questions, leave them in your comments below. I'll be more than happy to help out and answer any questions along the way. And so hopefully, you guys, when you get ready to do your own A320, you have a reference on how to do it.